Motocross, a physically demanding sport that requires a skillful rider to be in excellent physical condition. Your high-performance race bike, with the latest in motocross technology, requires the same excellence in preparation. Regular service and maintenance must be practiced to be successful in competition. Brent Shuri will instruct you with the basic service procedures to ensure your bike will remain safe, reliable, and competitive.
Welcome to Shur-Shot Motocross Maintenance. I am Brent Shuri. I have raced motocross professionally for 8 years and have never had a bike break down due to poor maintenance. It is my intent to share my maintenance tips and hopefully give you a sure shot at winning. Today's sophisticated race bikes require a lot of maintenance to keep them running. You must be prepared to do the work yourself. If you are preparing a brand new bike or a used bike, there are certain tools and supplies that you will require. First off is a logbook. Buy yourself a notebook like the one I have here. Turn to the first page and write down all the information about your bike. The brand, the model, the year, the size, the serial numbers, who you bought it from, and the date. This will help you when you go to sell your bike or if ever it was stolen. Keeping records of your repairs and modifications will also save you a lot of time in the long run. To properly maintain any motorcycle, you must use the right tools. You will require a 3/8 drive metric socket set and combination wrenches with sizes 8, 10, 12, 14, 17, and 19. Some bikes may require 11 and 13 millimeter tools. You will need Phillips screwdrivers numbers 1, number 2, 2 flat blade screwdrivers, 1 small and 1 large like we have here, a large adjustable wrench, a spark plug wrench or socket, a spoke wrench, Allen hex wrench set with sizes 4, 5, 6, and 8. You can also use the key style like these. You'll require a cable lubing tool, which is available at most motorcycle or bicycle shops. Your basic tools should also include standard and needle nose pliers, a tape measure with metric calibration, a tire pressure gauge, a feeler gauge, a plastic head hammer, a wire brush, and a large punch. It is a good idea to find yourself a box or pail like this to store your basic everyday supplies. Always carry a can of chain lube, contact cleaner, air filter oil, and some waterproof grease. Keep some WD-40 or another rust-inhibiting oil, an extra bottle of your favorite 2-stroke premix oil, transmission oil, brake fluid, antifreeze, and some spray-on cleaner degreaser like this one here. I recommend that you have a few small plastic bags, some non-flammable solvent, and liquid dish soap to clean your air filter. You will also need weather strip glue, Loctite, a roll of duct tape, some paper towels, safety wire, and an assortment of zip ties. Basic equipment for working on your machine should include a pair of coveralls to keep yourself clean, a sturdy motorcycle stand, a plastic pan or container for draining oil and storing parts, a wash pail or 2, some scrub brushes, and a sponge. You will need small funnels, an air pump or an air tank, and keep some rags on hand for any messy cleanups. It is important for long-term performance that you properly maintain your race bike. The best place to start is with a clean motorcycle. If your machine is only slightly dirty, it is best to clean it by hand with a pail of soap and water, nylon scrub brushes, and a sponge like this. You can then rinse off your bike with a garden hose. If your machine is very dirty or muddy, you might like to use a pressure washer like those found at coin-operated car washes. First, place your bike on a secure center stand like this one here. To prevent moisture from entering your engine, it is a good idea to cover your air filter with a plastic bag. Now, plug the exhaust outlet of the silencer with an old cork or with a piece of duct tape. Unless your bike is extremely dirty, spray on a cleaner degreaser like this to your seat. Spray all of the plastic parts on your bike and then the chain. This procedure will help loosen the grease and grime. Leave the soap soak in for a few minutes. Then wash down the entire bike. This allows the water to loosen any accumulated dirt so it can be brushed away. Caution must be taken when using high-pressure washers. The force of the water will actually drive dirt and water into the bearings, suspension pivots, and dust seals, forcing out the valuable lubrication. Also avoid spraying water under your gas tank or directly into the airbox. Start washing with the dirtiest parts of your bike, usually the fenders. Work your way from the bottom of your bike to the top and then to the front and to the rear. Lean the bike from one side and then the other to remove all the dirt under the engine and from the suspension linkages. Care must be taken when washing the radiators. Always pressure wash from the rear forward. This will flush out all debris that may have accumulated. Never use any tool to scrape dirt or mud from the cooling fins. Spin each wheel by hand and remove all the dirt from the disc brakes, the hubs, the spokes, and the tires. You can pressure wash the chain or use a wire brush to remove all the buildup of grease and grime. Make sure to clean both sides of the sprockets as well. Take care to prevent catching your fingers in the chain and the sprockets. Never wash your bike with the engine running. Take your wet sponge and wipe down all the plastic one last time. Now, rinse off the entire bike from top to bottom. You're not finished yet. Take a towel or some rags and remove any excess water from the entire machine. Spin the rear wheel by hand to help displace water from the chain and the sprockets. Once your machine is dry, apply a light coat of rust-inhibiting oil like this one to all bare metal areas on the frame. Then lubricate the pivots of the foot pegs and the shifter, the kickstarter, and the rear brake lever. Lubricate the clutch and the front brake lever pivots. Be careful not to spray any oil on the disc brakes. This oil will decrease your brake's effectiveness. Get out your chain lube like this kind and thoroughly saturate each chain link so that the lubricant penetrates the link plates and rollers. Don't forget to remove the plastic bag from the air filter and the plug from the silencer. The air filter is the most important part of your motorcycle that requires regular maintenance. Engine performance and durability will greatly be affected if the filter is not cleaned and oiled regularly. You will have to remove the seat on most bikes to service the air filter. Some models are accessed by removing a side number plate. Remove the filter by loosening the filter retaining bolt. As you remove the filter from the air box, be careful not to allow any dirt to fall into the air boot. Take a paper towel or a rag and cover up the air boot to ensure nothing else accidentally enters. Pour some non-flammable solvent into a small pail. Remove the air filter element from its holder and soak the filter thoroughly. Wash away all the dirt and oil from the filter. Very gently squeeze the excess solvent from the filter. When washing the filter, do so in a well-ventilated area, preferably outside. Never use gasoline or a low flash point solvent. A fire or explosion could result. You should always have a fire extinguisher handy in your work area, just in case. The filter may look fairly clean, but there is still a lot of dirt hidden deep in the foam. Get out your favorite liquid dish soap and squeeze on just enough soap like I am doing. Now, carefully massage the soap through and through. Have a pail of warm water ready and thoroughly wash out the soap and the hidden dirt. Rinse all the soap from the filter with cold water. I like to use a garden hose for this. Again, squeeze out all the excess water and allow the filter to air dry for several hours. Now is a good time to go back to the air box and wipe out any dirt that has collected in the bottom. Make sure that no loose dirt has entered the air boot. Clean out everything that may have entered. After allowing the filter to dry thoroughly, inspect it closely inside and out for evidence of tears or seam separations. Replace the filter if any damage is found. Now we can apply a foam filter oil to the element. Rub the oil into the filter with your hands. Saturate every part of the filter completely. Do not over-oil it. Again, gently squeeze out any excess oil from the filter. If you do not like getting your hands oily, you can put the filter into a plastic bag and add the oil and work the filter like this. Now, take your cleaned and oiled filter and replace it on its holder. Apply a thin coat of grease to the sealing surface. This will help seal the filter to the air box and prevent any dirt from penetrating. Place the retaining bolt through the filter and reinstall it into the bike with the tab pointing up. Remember to remove the rag from your air boot and take care not to let anything else enter. If the air filter assembly is not installed correctly, dirt and dust may enter the engine, resulting in rapid wear of the piston, rings, and the cylinder. Reinstall a seat or side number plate, making sure that it is securely attached. A visual check-over of your machine will help prevent any problems from occurring before they do. Repair or replace any missing, damaged, or worn-out parts immediately. Look for any missing bolts, nuts, or screws. Check the ignition wire connections of every part of the electrical system, including the kill button. Check the radiator cooling fins for clogging or damage. Inspect the radiator hoses and hose clamps and watch for signs of coolant leakage. Keep an eye on the chain guides and the rollers for wear or damage. Watch for loose springs on the exhaust system. Your bike is a high-performance racing machine that takes a lot of abuse. Always check the frame for cracks and make sure to do it regularly. Check the coolant level in the radiator before every ride with the engine cold. Never remove the radiator cap when the engine is hot. The coolant is under pressure and severe scalding could occur. A very small amount of coolant loss is normal under typical riding conditions. Use only an antifreeze specifically recommended for aluminum engines. A 50-50 mixture of antifreeze and distilled water is recommended. Add coolant up to the bottom of the filler neck. Make sure to install the radiator cap properly. Transmission oil is a major factor in the performance and durability of your clutch and transmission. Change your oil often to ensure consistent performance. Check the oil level before every time you ride. To check your transmission oil level, hold your bike perfectly upright and remove this oil level check bolt. Oil should flow out of the check hole. If the oil doesn't flow out, remove the filler cap and slowly add oil through the filler hole until oil starts to flow through the check hole. Reinstall the check bolt and the filler cap. To change the transmission oil, hold the motorcycle upright. Remove the filler cap first. Place a drain pan under the bike and remove the drain plug from the bottom of the engine cases. Check the drain plug and sealing washer and then reinstall them after the bike is completely drained. Look in your owner's manual for the proper torque specifications for your drain plug. Use a small funnel and add a top quality racing transmission oil through the filler hole until oil flows out the check hole. Recheck the level in a few minutes to make sure you have added enough. Regular inspection of your handlebar controls is essential. Check the cables for kinks, chaffing, and improper routing. Check and adjust the cable free plays. Always check your throttle for smooth rotation from closed to fully open with the handlebars full to the left and full to the right. Next, check the throttle grip for free play. Standard free play is approximately 3 to 5 millimeters of grip rotation. Approximately this much. Minor adjustments are made by removing this dust cap and loosening the lock nut. Turning the adjuster nut out will decrease free play. Turning it in will increase free play. Be sure to tighten the lock nut and reinstall a dust cover when you are finished. Operate the throttle grip to ensure that it functions smoothly and returns completely. You should clean out the throttle assembly every few rides. Use some contact cleaner on a paper towel and clean the handlebar and the throttle tube. Reassemble and make sure the throttle action is perfect after servicing. Normal clutch lever free play is 10 to 20 millimeters, measured at the tip of the lever. Minor adjustments can be made the same way as the throttle. Loosen or tighten the adjuster to achieve the proper free play. Tighten the lock nut and check the lever action after servicing. With today's hydraulic front disc brakes, free play adjustment is a little different than with a cable. Free play is a clearance between the end of the adjuster and the front brake master cylinder piston. This clearance should be between 1/4 and 1 millimeter. Loosen off the lock nut and turn this adjuster bolt counterclockwise to increase free play. To decrease free play, turn the adjuster bolt clockwise. Tighten the lock nut and replace the dust cover. As the brake pads wear out on hydraulic disc brakes, the brake fluid level will drop. Therefore, you must inspect the brake fluid levels and brake pad conditions periodically. Keep an eye on the oil level through this window found on the brake master cylinder. Whenever the fluid level is near the lower mark, you will have to add brake fluid. You will require a .3 or .4 brake fluid. Position the reservoir horizontally and remove the screws that hold the reservoir cover on. Add fluid up to the upper mark only. Do not overfill. Be careful not to spill the brake fluid on your bike or yourself. Install the reservoir cover and tighten the screws securely. Remember to check the oil level if your bike has rear disc brakes, and inspect the front and rear brake pads every few races to determine pad wear. If either pad is worn down to 1 mm thick or less, they must be replaced. Occasionally, the discs themselves should be cleaned. Take some paper towel or a clean rag and spray some contact cleaner onto it. Wipe down both sides of the disc thoroughly. This will remove any oil or dirt that may build up and hinder the brake's performance. If the disc has a lot of buildup, you should use a piece of steel wool to remove the dirt and oil. If you own a bike that has a conventional drum brake like this 80, you should occasionally clean out the dust and dirt that will collect inside. Loosen off and remove the axle, chain, and rear wheel. Wipe out the dirt from the brake parts and the wheel hub with an old rag. Your spark plug is the life of your engine. Always keep 2 spark plugs in your toolbox. Clean and check the gap of your plug regularly. Clean the area around the spark plug before you remove it from your engine. This will ensure that no dirt will fall inside. Remove the plug from the engine and spray some contact cleaner around the electrode. Check the electrode for wear or carbon deposits, the gasket for damage, and the insulator for cracks. Use a feeler gauge like this one to measure the gap. The recommended spark plug gap is 0.05 to 0.06 millimeters. Adjust the gap by carefully bending the side electrode. Always check the gap when installing a new plug. Make sure to compress the plug gasket on a new plug. There is an easy way to make sure that every nut, bolt, or screw will stay tight on your machine. That way is to check every bolt on your bike. Start out with your 8mm socket and ratchet and an 8mm wrench and go from top to bottom on your bike, checking every 8mm nut or bolt. Next, take your 10mm tools and do the same. Follow with all sizes of sockets and wrenches. Then, take each screwdriver one by one and check all the screws and don't forget the hose clamps. Then use the Allen keys and so on. Make sure to check every nut and bolt on the bike. At first, this method will take you some time, but after going over your bike a few times, you will learn which bolts to check more often. Regular cleaning, lubrication, and proper adjustment will help to extend the service life of your drive chain. Place the bike on a stand so that the rear wheel is off the ground. Put the transmission in neutral. Check the slack in the chain midway between the sprockets. For most bikes, drive chain slack should be 40 to 55 millimeters of vertical movement. Check your owner's manual for your specific bike and make a note in your logbook. To tighten your chain, remove the cotter pin and loosen off the rear axle nut. Next, loosen the adjuster bolt lock nuts on both sides of the swing arm and turn both adjuster bolts in or out to adjust the chain slack. After adjustment, check that the chain adjuster index marks are in the same location on each side of the swing arm to ensure the rear wheel is in proper alignment. This is especially important for best performance from the rear disc brake and to extend brake pad wear. Remember to lubricate the chain every time you ride. Spokes on a new bike will require frequent tightening for the first few rides until the spokes, nipples, and rim seat themselves together. After the initial tightening period, they should be checked periodically for damage or loosening. Always start checking or tightening your spokes from the tire air valve. This will indicate where you started. Take a spoke wrench and tighten each spoke 1/4 a turn at a time. Go around the whole wheel doing each spoke a 1/4 turn only until they are tight. You may have to go around the rim more than once. This will ensure that the rim will remain straight and true. To check your spokes quickly, take your hands and feel how tight each spoke is. If they are loose, you will feel them pull apart from each other. Go around the entire wheel and check each one. Your front forks are designed to operate with zero air pressure. There will be some pressure buildup in the forks from riding or from temperature changes. Place your bike on a center stand so that the front wheel is off the ground. Bleed any built-up pressure from each fork by loosening off this bleed screw on some models, or by pressing this air valve on other bikes. Always bleed the air when the fork is cold before you ride. Make sure that you check the air pressures in your tires. Proper air pressure will provide you with maximum stability, traction, and tire life. Tire pressure should be checked before you ride with the tires cold. Optimum air pressure is 14 pounds. Maintaining this pressure will help prevent you from getting flat tires or causing any rim damage from rocks. Occasionally, you should remove the ignition cover to wipe out any moisture. Condensation and water from washing your bike will cause rusting and possible ignition problems later on. It is a good idea to leave the cover off for a few hours to let the ignition cavity air out. Replace the gasket if necessary before reinstalling the cover. Remove the gas tank and check all of the electrical wiring and connections. Check the mounting bolts of the coil and the CDI box for tension. Rear suspension sag is critical to your bike's handling. Correct sag affects how your bike steers and how the shock absorbs small stutter bumps. Sag is a measurement of how much your suspension compresses when you stand on your bike. A good rule of thumb is that your sag should be equal to 1/3 of your bike's total rear wheel travel. This bike has 300 millimeters of travel. Therefore, the sag should be 100 millimeters. For this Mini with 270 millimeters of travel, it should have 90 millimeters of sag. To properly set the sag on your bike, you must be wearing all your race gear. First, place your bike on a crate so that the rear wheel is in the air. Measure straight up from the axle to a point on the rear fender. You may want to place a piece of tape here and draw a line for a reference point. Write down your measurement. Take the bike off the crate and stand straight up on the pegs like this. Balance the bike with your hand against the wall. Have a friend measure the distance from the axle to the mark on the fender. Write this measurement below the first one and subtract. We get 110 millimeters. On this bike, we want 100 millimeters of sag. Take a blunt tip punch, like this one, and loosen off the shock spring adjusting collars. Tighten the spring a couple of turns and remeasure. You may have to loosen or tighten and remeasure the spring a few times until you achieve the 100 millimeters of sag. Remember, to increase sag, loosen the spring by turning the collars counterclockwise. To decrease sag, tighten the spring by turning the collars clockwise. After you achieve the proper sag, lock the spring collars against each other by tightening the top collar down on the bottom collar. Mark down these measurements in your logbook for later reference. Make sure to check and reset your sag every 2 or 3 races. Your clutch and throttle cable require regular cleaning and lubrication to maintain easy and full operation. You have to first remove the cable from its holder, pull back the dust cover, and loosen off the lever pivot, nut, and bolt. Remove the lever from the perch and then from the cable end. Proceed to remove the other end of the cable from its holder in the cases. The throttle cable may require disassembly of the complete throttle. Remove the cable completely from the throttle housing. Next, remove the other end of the cable from the top of your carburetor. You may have to loosen the carburetor hose clamps and spin the carburetor a little. Just pull the outer cable out about 2 or 3 centimeters. This will prevent any dirt or excess lubricant from getting into the carburetor. You will require a cable lubing device like this one here. Install it over the cable end and tighten the screw snug by hand.
Take
a can of contact cleaner with a small plastic spray hose attached and insert it into the cable looper. Spray a steady amount of contact cleaner until you see the liquid come through the cable at the other end. Place a paper towel there to wipe up any excess. Now, spray in some WD-40 or another similar lubricant. Keep spraying until the oil passes out the bottom of the cable. Do the same with the other cables. Wipe up any oil overspray and reassemble the cables. Don't forget to tighten the carburetor clamps. Your carburetor may require an occasional adjustment. Before any changes are made, you must first install a clean air filter and make sure that the throttle and the cable are functioning properly as we have shown earlier. The air screw controls the air and fuel mixture from 0 to about 1/8 throttle. We will adjust this first, since this will affect how your bike will idle. Refer to your owner's manual for your specific setting. This bike setting is 1.5 turns. Take your small flat blade screwdriver and slowly turn the air screw in clockwise until it seats lightly. Turn it back out counterclockwise 1 1/2 turns. To ensure this is the best setting for your bike, start the engine and allow it to warm up completely. With a warm engine, your bike should rev up smoothly if the air screw setting is correct. If it does not, you may have to turn the air screw in or out 1/4 to 1/2 turn from the factory setting to get the bike to rev up smoothly. Turning the air screw in richens the air-fuel mixture. Turning the air screw out will lean the mixture. Remember always to take the bike outside when you run the engine. Have the engine warm and running to adjust the idle speed. Turn the idle screw in or out until the desired idle speed is found. Refer to the owner's manual for this specific information on your brand of motorcycle. Position your handlebar levers so that you can reach them comfortably when both standing or sitting on the bike. Tighten the lever perch mounting bolts just enough so that the lever perch will rotate on the handlebar if you should fall. This will prevent them from breaking or bending. When changing a handlebar grip, you can easily remove it by sliding a small screwdriver between the bar and the grip. Spray some contact cleaner alongside of the screwdriver. Remove the screwdriver and twist off the grip. To install the grip, first clean out the grip with some contact cleaner and a paper towel. Now apply some weather strip adhesive glue to the handlebar like this. Allow the glue to dry for 2 or 3 minutes. Take and drop a nickel into the grip itself. This will help prevent the bar from cutting through the grip if you should fall. Spray some contact cleaner into the grip and then onto the drying glue. Quickly slide the grip onto the handlebar. Allow the grip 1 hour or more to dry before using. Wiring the grips will give additional security. Cut a short length of stainless safety wire like this. Wrap it around the grip and twist it together from the bottom with a pair of pliers. Tighten the wire just enough so that the wire sinks part way into the rubber grip. Place another band of wire at the other end of the grip and one in the middle. Use some electrical tape and wrap every wire connector to prevent any unwanted disconnections or short circuits. Install a small zip tie around the spark plug cap to reduce any possibility of loosening or shorting out. Using Loctite on essential bolts and fasteners will offer you added assurance and safety. Remove each nut or bolt, clean the threads, and apply a small amount of Loctite, and retighten the bolt or nut in its place. You can keep your bike's shroud decals, your numbers and plates, or your favorite stickers looking 100% all season. Purchase this clear vinyl from your local motocross shop. Thoroughly clean the plastic and apply the clear cover. This will offer added strength to the plastic and keep everything looking great. There are several aspects of your race bike that you should check over before any time that you ride. Write this list on page 2 of your logbook and follow it exactly. Inspect your air filter to see if it requires cleaning before every ride. Put a good coating of chain lube on your chain and check to see if the chain is tight enough. Remove the radiator cap and check your coolant level. Then check your transmission oil level. Next, check every spoke for tension and use an air gauge and check the tire pressures. Look over your bike and check for missing bolts or damaged parts. Finally, fill up your gas tank with premix and have fun riding. Here's the list of procedures to prepare your competition bike for a race. Write this race preparation list on page 3 of your logbook. Follow it completely to ensure that your bike will pass tech inspection and reward you with a trouble-free race. Start off with a clean and dry motorcycle. Install a clean and oiled air filter and prepare a spare filter and store it in a plastic bag. Inspect every part of your machine and repair or replace any worn or damaged parts. Go through each of the following maintenance procedures one by one. Before each race, I copy out this list on a loose piece of paper and cross off every procedure as I complete it. This is an easy way to make sure that everything is prepared. Review this video if necessary to perform any of these procedures. Remember to go through your pre-ride checklist after practice and after the first moto on race day. After every 2 or 3 races, or approximately 7 hours of riding, you should perform these maintenance procedures. Write this schedule on page 4 of your logbook. Review this video to perform these procedures if necessary. This video only includes basic maintenance procedures and tips. There are several more in-depth procedures that should be regularly performed on your race bike. We have included another schedule that you should follow in maintaining your race bike. Write this in your logbook on page 5. Have your local motorcycle dealer perform these services every 6 or 8 races, or approximately every 20 hours of riding. Anytime that you go riding or practicing, make sure that you always take along all your tools and basic supplies. There are a number of spare parts that you should take along on race day to help ensure that you get in a full day of racing. Always have a second air filter oiled and stored in a plastic bag, ready for use if necessary on race day. Carry at least 2 extra spark plugs with you at all times. Every racer has taken a fall resulting in a broken lever or a torn handlebar grip. Therefore, I recommend having an extra clutch lever and an extra front brake lever along. Also have an extra set of handlebar grips. Go to your local motorcycle shop or a bolt supply house and get a varied selection of 6 and 8 millimeter nuts, bolts, screws, and washers. Buy extra hose clamps for the radiator hoses and some extra cotter pins for your rear axle nut. It is also a good idea to have an extra set of numbers for your bike and for on your helmet. They have a funny way of falling off when you least expect it. Without proper numbers, you may not be allowed to race. Remember to prepare your riding equipment and take along food and water, as well as extra clothes to protect yourself from the elements. If there is any chance that you may encounter a rainy or muddy race day, plan ahead and bring a rain suit, umbrella, and carry an extra 5-gallon container of water to wash yourself off and your bike. Take along your wash pails, brushes, sponges, and extra towels or rags to help clean up your bike and to make the mud and rain easier to live with. Remember, be prepared.
Keep your bike well maintained. Work hard on physical training and practice a lot. But most of all, go out and enjoy motocross. It is the best motorsport in the world. Good luck.